Ghetto gang, ghetto mother flipping gang. What is good? You know what it is. It's your boy Ghetto. I wish I could be coming to you in a happier mood. I mean, I just had an amazing Hanukkah with the fam, so that was positive. But Festival of Light, excuse me, before somebody get at me. I just had an amazing Festival of Lights, Feast of Dedication. It was good, man. It was real good, man. So shout to everybody who enjoyed theirs with their fam as well. But unfortunately, man, we gotta have a real serious conversation today. So I'm not gonna belabor the point. We're gonna take care of some business. And we're going to get into it. As always, thankful to the Most High for all of the blessings and all the lessons that come to you and your family. And yeah, man, we're going to review something. It's a little interesting, man. It's very interesting, to be quite frank. But we're going to review some things. We're going to talk. We're going to bring up some scriptures because we can't run from the book. You can't run from the book. And we're gonna take care of it, man. Let's go.
Disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Now, I've listened to your black ass talk all day about how much you can't stand black folks.
Ain't two of them in the history of the world that's worth a scrub for it.
Oh, how much you love white folks.
Best thing the good Lord ever did for the planet Earth.
Ruckus, you black as the ace of spades, man.
I don't see the need for you to go and insult the man after a game of checkers. We've been reminiscing all day, looking in each other's eyes, acting like we like each other. Now you gotta go ahead and remind me of my ailment.
Ailment?
That's right. You heard of vitiligo? Shoot, well, I got re-vitiligo. Every year my skin just seemed to get blacker and darker and blacker and then more darker. It's the opposite of what Michael Jackson got. Lucky bastard.
Ruckus, how could you possibly love white people so much?
It's easy. Have you ever looked at them? White man just a joy to be around. They smell like lemon juice and pledge furniture cleaner. And look at them. They gave us discipline, jobs, put structure in our lives, took us out the jungle. And what we do to show our appreciation?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. We so unappreciative. So before we get into anything, gang, I would like to read a verse from the book of Leviticus. Shout the Bible Hub. I brought it up in several different translations because I don't want nobody to pretend like they don't understand what I'm saying. So the book of Leviticus, man, chapter 20, verse 13. Let's start with the King James translation, right? Gotta love that King James translation. If a man, let's get the classical King James translation, right? Sorry for that, gang. Internet gotta pay them bills. If a man also lie with mankind as he lieth with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. Let me say that again for the people in the back, because love is love, and everybody. If a man also lie with mankind as he lieth with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. they shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. Let me get that in the English Standard Version for those that, what does that mean? And then I'll do the New Living. If a man lies with a male, when we say lie, we mean being intimate, laying, sharing your bed with a man. As with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood is upon them, meaning they are responsible for all the bloodshed that's going to happen afterwards. New Living Translation. Again, Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 13. If a man practices homosexuality, again, if a man practices homosexuality, having sex with another man, as with a woman, both men have committed a detestable act. They must both be put to death, for they are guilty of a capital offense. New International Version. If a man has sexual relations with a man as one does with a woman, both of them have done what is detestable. They are to be put to death. Their blood will be on their own heads or hands, meaning they are responsible for whatever punishments they endure because of the behaviors they've decided to get into. Now y'all be like, well, Ghetto, it's a new time, it's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, yeah, and I'm feeling good, or I'm feeling gay. Dun-dun, 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 dun-dun. That's how y'all feeling? It's a new dawn and it's a new day. It's a new life for me, yeah. And I'm feeling gay. Really? That's what you're doing? Interesting. It's an abomination. It's an abomination. It's an abomination. Oh, who made you the judge, Ghetto? Well, if you're asking. Most High. To answer your question shortly and simply, the Most High made me a judge. But anyway, why are you showing us this, Ghetto? What's going on today? Because today, gang, we have to talk about something that's very disturbing. So recently, it was brought to my attention that a most heinous act had occurred. And it seems not to be getting as much attention as some other things in the news. You know, the Travis Hunters of the world seem to be dominating the news talk along social media, all around social media, rather. The Travis Hunters of the world seem to be dominating that social media space. And, you know, good for them. Good for them and good for who feels like covering that. But here on this channel, we think things a little bit differently, family. And I gotta shed some light on this story. And I've seen some other people shed some light on this, so I'm not gonna pretend like I haven't seen anybody shed light on it or when it even came across my desk. But it really makes me wonder when things like this get less attention than who somebody's deciding to date, what two grown folks decide to do, what a man and a woman decided to engage in. It's very interesting when things like what I'm about to present now get less attention. So it came out that this gay couple, this gay homosexual married couple, were very big and popular in the community, decided to adopt 2 boys. And it's like, oh, that's sweet. You know, they helped give some boys a home and, you know, gave them a loving family and a secure foundation and some place to consistently come home to, because those consistent things are needed for children. Whether we think that or not, consistency is one of the things that helps children thrive the most. Consistency helps adults thrive. So just imagine what it does for children, right? Just imagine what it does for children. I had done a piece on Simone Biles a while back. Check that piece out if you haven't. Where she talks about how it wasn't until her grandfather decided to take her into his home with her sister and created a stable foundation for her that she was able to just have meals on a regular basis. And her grandfather put her into gymnastics, and her grandfather, along with his lovely wife, helped nourish and develop the talents of this young lady along with her sister. And, you know, she says it all the time. She would not be where she is in life if her grandfather hadn't taken her in and adopted her. That type of stability allowed her to propel herself into an Olympic gold medalist, and now at this point you'd argue an absolute legend in the sport and just a household name, period. Most people know who Simone Biles is if they don't even really pay attention to Olympic sports like that, because she's a media darling. When she's in the media, that story goes. That story takes off. Everybody pays attention, for better or worse, right? But it was that foundation and that consistent love and care that she was able to get in a house with her grandfather and his wife, who of course would become her grandmother, that allowed for her to excel. And so why do I bring that up? Because when we take advantage, when we don't provide that for the children of our own house, we are not a believer. We are not a believer. The book actually says that, you know, you're not a believer if you don't provide for the children of your own house. Even more heinous than not providing for the children of your house is to use and abuse your authority over children for your own personal pleasure. I don't know of much more detestable things a person can do. And so let's get into this clip. Fair use, fair use, fair use. We here reacting to it. Shout to the Law and Crime Network. This is crazy. Let's go.
Georgia couple is sentenced to 100 years behind bars after adopting 2 young boys to repeatedly rape. A Georgia couple.
Yeah, it got real spicy right out the gate. Jesus. A Georgia couple sentenced to 100 years for repeatedly torturing, maiming, destroying these children. Why is this not front page news all over the place? Are we too caught up in the celebrity schmebrity? Now there's some celebrities right now who may be facing similar time for similar things, and we'll get to that when we get to that. But right now, this is a confirmed case, right? And these are people who were affluent, not only in their community, but in the LGBT community. And it's very interesting that this is getting it's being pushed under the rug, in my humble opinion. Let's go.
Is sentenced to 100 years rape. The dads even installed cameras throughout their family home to capture this ongoing sexual abuse. If
Yes,
that
they did.
wasn't enough, though, a Georgia couple is sentenced to 100 years behind bars.
Think about that. They gave them 100 years. 100 years. How often does a court give out 100-year sentence? Let's keep it going.
A Georgia couple is sentenced to 100 years behind bars after adopting 2 young boys to repeatedly rape. The dads even installed cameras throughout their family home to capture this ongoing sexual abuse. If that wasn't enough, though, they posted the images and videos online so other predators could view these horrifying crimes.
So not only are they personally doing these things, but they're into showing it off to other people who are in the community. And it's reported that the reason they even got caught is one of the dudes who they offer their children, and I use that loosely, their children up for pleasure to. Yes, you heard me right. One of the people they offered their boys up for pleasure to got caught with a bunch of child content. And because he got caught with all that child content, he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I ain't the big fish in this. I'm just a small fish in a pond in a nasty sea. You want the big fish? I give them to you. Oh, cause ain't no loyalty among these people. You got to think about it. If these people do these type of things, you think they're gonna be loyal? You think they're gonna hold each other down? Pause. Of course they'll hold boys down, but Jesus. All right, never mind. Oh my God, this is crazy. This is crazy. Real quick, let's bring this to the front of the congregation. Jesus. Oh my God. William and Zachary Zulak. New York Post article from December 23rd. This just happened, family. This got buried. You understand me? And I understandably so. You got Elon Musk Cybertrucks blowing up in front of Trump Tower. You got the travesty that happened in New Orleans, and you know that was discussed. That's a disgusting matter in and of itself. It was a lot going on. I get it. There's a lot going on in New York. The situations are just at a fever pitch all over the place. So I get how something like this could slide under the radar. But come on, yeah. Come on. A gay Georgia couple from Georgia. Oh, Georgia. Oh, what does it matter? They from Georgia. Well, some people will pretend like that's nothing, but those in the know understand how colorful it has become in Georgia of recent years, and this is just getting better and better. Let's keep going. A Georgia couple convicted of sickening sexual abuse of their 2 adopted sons will spend the rest of their lives behind bars. William and Zachary Zulak, 34 and 36, were each sentenced last week to 100 years in prison without the possibility of parole. The Walton County District Attorney's Office announced these 2 defendants truly created a house of horrors and put their extremely dark desires above everything and everyone else. However, the depth of the defendant's depravity, which is as deep as it gets, is not greater than the resolve of those that fought for justice and the strength of the victims in this case. The resolve I have seen from these two young victims over the last 2 years is truly inspiring, he added. The boys, two brothers who are now 10 and 12, were adopted from a Christian special needs agency by the Zulaks. Way to do good background checks. Christian agency who will go unnamed. It wasn't the Children's Aid Society, was it? I'm really glad they made the Children's Aid Society. I don't know if it was. I'm just throwing them there. Bum 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 bum. It wasn't. Man, jeez. All right, let's just keep going. The couple raised them under the guise of a happy home in an affluent Atlanta suburb. Gang, need we say more? Do we have to say anything else about Hot Atlanta? Hot Atlanta. Do we have to? Do we really got to get into all the mess that goes on in Hot Atlanta? Nah, right? We all on the same page? All right then. But their supposedly picture-perfect life, Zachary worked in banking and William was a government employee. Oh, you mean like the government employee who had parties while he was doing forcing everybody in New York to shut down and be in their houses? He was going to parties without masks on and stuff. You mean those type of government employees? You mean the government employee who was caught stealing bags and cross-dressing and stuff with the stuff he had stole out of the airport? Oh, you mean those type of government employees? Held a dark secret. The couple were regularly forcing the boys to have relations with them and would film the abuse to make underage videos. Pedophilic pornography. So they say William Zulak worked in the government. Man, you can't make it. Oh, we gonna get to this. The Zulaks admitted to a slew of heinous abuses against their two adopted sons. Evidence showed they even bragged. They even bragged about the abuse to twisted friends, with one telling police Zachary once sent a Snapchat message reading, "I'm going to my son tonight. I'm going to touch all on my son tonight." But that's not the word that was used in the Snapchat message, according to the person's report to the police. According to the report, the word that was used starts with an F. F as in Frank. Pause. This is a mess. Stand by. So the message in total was, "I'm going to F my son tonight. Stand by." Along with images of the boy being abused. So he told them he was going to do it and then sent images to them of the graphic, gory display. And they allegedly used social media to pimp the boys out to at least two men in a depraved local pedo ring. The couple was arrested in 2022 after an alleged member of the ring was caught downloading child videos. And he told the investigators how the Zulaks were making videos with young boys living in their house. He got caught. Ain't no honor among these people. These are not honorable people. Oh, love is love and love who you love. You shouldn't put your prejudices on everybody. You should knock it till you try it. I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. Shout out to brother Umar. No, I don't need to touch the stove. The stove is hot. I'm good. I know what fire looks like. I know what heat feels like. I see the stove turned up. No, thank you. I'm going to pass on that one. Oh, Ghetto, you're so corny. All right, then. Both Zulaks pled guilty to charges of aggravated child molestation, aggravated sodomy, and sexual exploitation of children. Let's get
There are a lot of really intense topics. A Georgia couple is sentenced to 100 years behind bars after adopting 2 young boys to repeatedly rape. The dads even installed cameras throughout their family home to capture this ongoing sexual abuse. If that wasn't enough, though, they posted the images and videos online so other predators could view these horrifying crimes. We cover a lot of really intense topics here on Law and Crime, and this one is truly one of the more messed up stories I've ever looked at. I mean, we're talking about 2 young children who are the victims in this story, which unto itself is heartbreaking. But it's an added layer of depravity when we consider that the bad guys in this story are actually the boys' parents. A family's home is supposed to be safe. It's supposed to be a place where the kids can trust their parents and feel at home, but instead, first responders call this a house of horrors. That's a direct quote. Take this as your trigger warning because right now we're going to dive into those details. The parents in this case are 34-year-old William and 36-year-old Zachary Zulak. They're a married couple out of Walton County, Georgia, which is just east of Atlanta. We're not revealing their sons' names to keep the boys' privacy, but we can tell you that right now they're ages 10 and 12, and they were adopted by the Zulaks through a Christian special needs agency. Outwardly, the Zulak family seemed to have it all. William worked for the government and Zachary had a job in banking. Their home was upscale too in a nice neighborhood of Loganville, Georgia. They posted pics online that were smiling, happy, basically looking like they were the picture-perfect family. They even have a photo wearing shirts that say, "Love my family," with the rainbow flag in support of pride. But behind this facade, there was something much more sinister. Now, the investigation dates back to July 2022, when the Georgia Bureau of Investigation's Exploitation and Computer Crimes Unit got a tip.
Yeah, we're gonna run this back a bunch.
A family's home is supposed to be safe. It's supposed to be a place where the kids can truly one of the more messed up stories I've ever looked at. I mean, we're talking about 2 young children who are the victims in this story, which unto itself is heartbreaking. But it's an added layer of depravity when we consider that the bad guys in this story are actually the boys' parents. A family's home is supposed to be safe. It's supposed to be a place where the kids can trust their parents and feel at home, but instead, first responders call this a house of horrors. That's a direct quote. Take this as your trigger warning because right now we're going to dive into those details. The parents in this case are...
Before we do that, shout to townhall.com. Shout to townhall.com. This is what we doing, huh? Well, this is what I'm doing. tip sheet. Remember the Zulaks, the gay activist who abused their sons? Here's where their cases stand today. Shout out to Mia Capel. This is from September. Self-described partners in crime. William and Zachary Zulak aren't on the same page anymore, literally and figuratively. Now severed. My goodness. The gay activists are no longer co-defendants jointly charged via a sprawling 17-count indictment, and spousal privilege does not apply in child abuse cases, at least in the state of Georgia. One has pleaded guilty, and the other is officially heading to trial more than 2 years after the married men were arrested in July 2022 for routinely touching their special needs sons. Then ages 6 and 8 respectively. At the time, the years long then the ages of 6 and 8 respectively at the time the years long abuse started, among a slew of other heinous child crimes. So one pled guilty and the other one like, nah, I'm fighting this in court. What are you fighting in court exactly? You just want to waste taxpayer dollars, huh? All right then. Litigation wise, there are two distinctly different paths, but they're both ending at the same place: prison. This is crazy, y'all. This is crazy. And what's so sad is that there's so many kids out here that need good parents to take them in because for whatever reason they were born into a horrific situation, or a situation that just wasn't stable, a situation that just wasn't tenable for trying to stably raise children. And you know, you want, if you can't raise your children, for them to go into an environment that would provide them the stability that they need. And a lot of times we think of stability in terms of dollar signs, and you got these two affluent men living in a suburb outside Atlanta. So yeah, these kids they're gonna have a great time with these parents who can provide them anything their hearts desires. Did they desire to be intimate with their new parents? Tell me when their hearts desired intimacy from their new parents. I'll wait. Can you let me know when their hearts desired intimacy from these two fucking men? No? Oh, okay, I didn't think you could. Cloud Hunter 89. It's been just over a year as their parents. We have loved every moment of it. I bet you have. Was a little rough starting out, but we beat the 1 year mark. This was our second year to the ocean. Last year was the first time they've seen it. I just love how this picture turned out. Our little adoption family. Well, why was it so rough when y'all first started out? Is it because they didn't want what you were offering? But you eventually acclimated them to the lifestyle. For William, it's now just a matter of how much time he'll be behind bars. If it's 25 years, the mandatory minimum, or 9 life sentences plus 140 years in prison, the maximum amount allowed under the law. That's, of course, all dependent on whether the sentences run concurrently as opposed to consecutively. Prosecutors decided to drop count 16 and 17, the child prostitution charges against William, which alleged that the Zulaks solicited nearby pedos off their gay hookup app Grindr to perform sexual acts on their adopted children. What the It ain't no fun if the homies can't get none. Is that what's going on here? It ain't no fun if my homies can't get none. This is Zachary Zulak was the individual reaching out to those individuals. Walton County District Attorney Randy McGinley said at a hearing on August 20th, where William pleaded guilty to the remaining charges of incest by. Oh, so you threw your husband under the. There is no honor. Zachary Zulak was the individual reaching out to those individuals. So William Zulak got off on peddling them to other people. This is crazy. But did he stop Zachary from peddling them? How can he even get off of that? How can he escape that? Where William pleaded guilty to the remaining charges of incest by adoption, aggravated rear end, and oral gang, we gonna take a break. We gonna take a break. I need a break. I need a mother flipping break. This is crazy. Yo, Smokey, talk to him, man.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you.
Fair use.
Myself,
Honey Years Not Enough, Part 1. Ghetto Reactz, Honey Years Not Enough, Part 1.
I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
I need more time.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
All right, then. Jesus Christ. Again, reading from the townhall.com article from September of 24. Man, Zachary Zulak was the individual reaching out to those individuals. Walton County District Attorney Randy McGinley said at a hearing on August 20th, where William pleaded to the remaining charges of incest by adoption, aggravated rear end and mouth sodomy, aggravated child molestation resulting in injury of the Yo, y'all gonna have to take your time with this one today, man. Y'all gonna have to take this walk with me, man. Whoa. Aggravated child molestation resulting in injury of the child and sexual exploitation of children. Are you in fact guilty? Judge Jeffrey L. Foster asked William. Yes, sir. A despondent Williams. I don't give a freak if he was despondent. What? I find that there is a factual basis to support this plea and that you know you're entering your plea freely, knowingly, and voluntarily, Foster ordered. Further, based upon your admissions here in court, I do find you are in fact guilty of the 15 offenses as they are alleged in the indictment, and I will accept your plea as tendered. So he said, let me just take this plea bargain because William entered a non-negotiated guilty plea, meaning sentencing was not agreed upon by both sides. In accordance, each party will present what they believe is appropriate to the court at an upcoming evidentiary hearing. This, which is probably what just happened recently. The state will make a sentencing recommendation while the defense will offer an alternative, customarily asking for a reduced punishment. Not always. Sometimes even your defense attorney will be like, yo, that dude's he's a piece of turd. He's judge. I don't want none. Judge. Yo, those conversations between the opposing counsels and the judges when they all go eat lunch together at Boston Market or something, you know, they be going to like Boston Market, places like that where you can get like a nice homely cooked meal. You know, they might go hit the Chinese restaurant or something, Indian buffet. You know what I mean? They might go to Kava if they ain't got much time. Some Mediterranean food at, you know, some place like that. I always wonder when they sit down, because if you think your attorney and the other attorney and the judge ain't sitting down and talking, you're lying to yourself. And when they have those conversations, man, oh man, what are they saying about you? What are they saying? What are they saying when they have those conversations? Jesus. Oh, man. Do you understand that there is no probation or parole? Are you satisfied with what your lawyer did? William Zulok's plea of guilty acknowledgement. One of the reasons we're not sentencing today is to give your attorney some time to continue to work with you to develop some more evidence, referring to the defense mounting its case to convince court to shorten Williams' impending incarceration. Such evidence is presented to establish mitigating circumstances. What mitigating circumstances can there be in this scenario? What mitigating circumstances could there be in this scenario? You know what? I think we need to pull up the good book. I think we went a little too long without pulling a scripture. So let's the book of Corinthians, chapter 6, verse 9 through 10, man. Or do you not know that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of God? Do you not know that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of God? Do not be deceived. Neither the sexually immoral will not inherit the kingdom of God, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor men who practice homosexuality. The book of Corinthians, chapter 6, verse 9. Nor thieves, nor the greedy, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor swindlers will inherit the kingdom of God. Y'all playing with me today, man. Y'all is playing with me today. This man, I don't care how many explosions went off. How do we not? I'm gonna take a break. We'll be right back, fam.
Don't understand is that if it's so offensive to them, then why do they say it over and over again?
So Riley said the N-word before you did that morning.
He says it every morning. He calls me nigga. He calls the other kids nigga. He calls himself nigga all the time. Nigga this, nigga that, nigga please, bitch nigga, have you lost your mind? Nigga, check that hoe. Nigga, you bullshitting. Break yourself, nigga. He says it so much I don't even notice it anymore. Last week in lunch, Riley says to a classmate, "Can a nigga borrow a French fry?" And my first thought wasn't, oh my God, he said the word, the N-word. It was, now how is a nigga gonna borrow a fry? Nigga, is you gonna give it back? I'm telling you, my inside voice didn't talk like that before he got in my class.
He said, I said it first. Man, I'm telling you, I seen the hatred in his eyes the first time I walked into class. All he saw when he looked at me was a black nigga.
we need Aaron Magruder. We need you back. Aaron Magruder, forgive me. We need you back, brother. It's way too much good stuff for you to draw about, man. Come on, man. Y'all gotta work that out. Work it out. Give Aaron Magruder whatever he want. Let him take as much time as he needs between episodes. This is genius work, and genius work sometimes take time. Y'all can't be trying to force the man to make episodes and cranking them out. They not going to be of the same quality. Anyway. Such evidence is presented to establish mitigating circumstances. Again, we're in the article on townhall.com, which are factors that the defense argues lessen the defendant's perceived culpability, like a mental illness, history of abuse, or if the defendant played a relatively minor role in the... Yeah, you played a minor. All right. Anyway, in court, Williams' ever elusive lawyer, John E. Haldy, whose 6 months of medical leave brought the case to a standstill, and whose initial absence that day delayed the hearings happening by hours, hobbled out to mention a motion he's filing. According to court records reviewed by Town Hall, Haldy has requested a psychosexual examination of William prior to sentencing. Defendant and his counsel are reliant on an evaluation. What is a psychosexual examination? You see what money do, family? Y'all don't understand what money do. Money allow you to just take your time. Like, you could just throw all type of wild stuff at the court. This is what it does, family. This is what you can get. This is crazy. When you have the money to just take forever with court, you can play this game for as long as your money go. You can play this game for as long as your money go. And no one can stop you because you have the money to keep going. You have the finances to just keep this thing going into time immemorial. You can muck up the courts. You can waste the court's time. You can put in a bunch of actions that do nothing, a la some people's favorite rapper right now. You can just continue to muck up the court process and muddy the waters, trying to throw the attention someplace else. Now, just for our understanding, let's I just want to so here's Cox. That's a bad choice of words. Behavioralhealth.org. Assessment and treatment plans. The Cox Behavioral Group. I don't know what else to say. Assessment and treatment, psychosexual evaluation. At Cox Behavioral Health, we offer psychosexual evaluations and recovery plans to help promote personal responsibility, model a healthy sex life, develop victim empathy, gain insight into behavioral issues, provide ongoing risk assessment, correction of thinking errors, improved social skills, and development of safety plans. Level 1 for minor offenses at low risk to reoffend. These treatment plans can be classified into 3 levels: minor offenses with low risk to reoffend, for moderate offenses and mental, emotional, or behavioral disorders requiring more intensive mental health counseling. Level 3 for individuals with moderate to serious offenses and transitioning back into the community from jail, prison, and residential treatment facilities. Conducted according to ATSA approved practice guidelines. This is interesting. Building boundaries treatment program. Roadmap specifically designed for youth 6 to 12, covering from abuse. Jesus. So essentially they want to get him an evaluation to see, well, if we do give him a short sentence, Your Honor, how likely is he to reoffend? How likely is he to create more problems? This is This is just a waste of time. Defendant and his counsel are relying on an evaluation in this case to present any possible mitigating information to the court in order to arrive at a quote-unquote just sentence. Nigga, 100 years is not enough. Typically, defendants are able to withdraw their guilty plea at any point between the time they enter it and the moment of sentencing for no reason at all. Wow, I didn't know that. You have given that right up in return for having time to develop evidence. Whereas under a negotiated plea in which the prosecution and the defense come to an agreement on sentencing, if Foster had sentenced William to something he didn't agree to, he would have automatically had the ability to take back his guilty plea because the judge didn't accept the plea arrangement's terms. There's no plea deal here, Foster explained. After hearing arguments, the court will ultimately determine Williams' sentence, which may be more or less than either side is asking for, so long as it's within the statutory minimum and maximum. William Zulock. This is a man. These dudes be having a look, don't they? In the interim, Foster is waiting on signing the state's motion for nolle prosequi regarding counts 16 and 17 until sentencing is entered, just in case something goes haywire, which you never know. Nixing the pair of pandering for person Nixing the pair of pandering for persons under the age of 18 charges would knock off as much as 60 years off of Williams' pending imprisonment. Oh, so if they can prove that he wasn't doing the selling, I guess they could take 60 years off. The 34-year-old convicted felon is hoping to get out on the early end. According to conversations with family, Williams is already asking around for the whereabouts of his car, which the state seized along with the rest of the couple's property. Yeah, you ain't getting that back. William, previously a Prada-toting DMV employee, oh, he worked at the DMV, huh, is currently not holding up well while in Walton County Jail. Why? I mean, why? Why don't you like your stay in the Walton County Jail? Huh? What happened? The devil wears Prada, huh? The lactose intolerant inmate cannot consume any of the dairy products offered in the detention center, and the lunch options are not to his liking. Oh, the lunch is not to his liking. I don't even know a hot dog would eat these. I don't even know a dog. If a dog would eat these bologna sandwiches, that's how low grade the meat is. Well, sir, I know it doesn't live up to the standards of the life that you and your banker hubby had, but you know, this is what the taxpayers can afford, sir. William complaining about the jailhouse's decrepit conditions. Once fussed, this place is a joke. Oh, you ain't had a joke yet, sir. You ain't laughed yet. Oh, they gon' my God. Then there's Zachary, a retail banker in Atlanta area pedophile operations point person. Damn. Allegedly, as he's resolved to take his chances of acquittal at trial. Up to the present point, Zachary was waiving his right to a jury trial. Yeah, he don't want to be judged. He don't want to be judged by 12. Oh man. Yeah, he should be carried by 6. The defendant has changed his mind and would like to announce ready for trial. Assistant DA Lacey Majors said at a separate August 20th status conference. This is crazy. This is sick. Zachary's court-appointed attorney, Reginald L. Winfrey, prodded Foster to postpone the trial into next year, noting that the judge had previously floated a February trial date. Foster, dead set on October 21st, didn't budge. Guess what? I got a second judge to help cover trials, so we'll be trying the 21st of October, Foster retorted. Pivoting, Winfrey asked about spousal privilege, which the two Zulaks tried to raise. I'm not sure you ever ruled on that, Winfrey ventured. We'll make a formal ruling on the record, but by statute, we cannot exert spousal privilege to avoid testifying about the alleged abuse of the children. Foster replied, counsel will convene. Like, think that's nasty work. They're like, oh, well, you know, we are spouses. So you can't, like, think of what if they got wed to each other so that they could do this and no one could force them to snitch on one another. The devil wear Prada, don't he? Shit. What if they got wed with the sole purpose of being able to do this scheme and then nobody could snitch or be compelled to snitch? I mean, I'm just asking questions, man, because you know I ain't smarter than a 5th grader. I'm just asking questions, but like that would be so diabolical, man. Council will convene again on September 25th ahead of trial to discuss any outstanding matters. William's sentencing is tentatively set for November 20th. Purposely scheduled after Zachary is tried, prosecutors told Town Hall. The state is stacking the witnesses against Zachary, 4 of whom include his husband. At least 2 other co-conspirators charged in connection with the pedo ring and a previous child victim who was 14 at the time. Yo, these people have a pattern of this behavior. Zachary allegedly abused him in 2011. William will be compelled to testify against Zachary. Under a limited immunity grant, anything William says on the witness stand cannot be used against him in a criminal proceeding. Damn, they turning on each other, boy. Although he's immunized against self-incrimination, William will still be subject to penalties for committing perjury and making false statements. The state says the couple's testimonial statements in police custody clearly implicate each other. According to court documents and initial talks with detectives, Zachary pinned the blame on William, saying he was the one responsible for starting the child abuse. I'm here because I let William manipulate me and I didn't have a backbone. Get the bro, stop it. What? You what? What? No honor amongst thieves, man. Oh, they not thieves, Ghetto. They are stealing these children's childhood away from them. They're taking their innocence. They are thieves. They are stealing the childlike innocence from these children away. Oh, you going too far, Ghetto. Stop it, man. 100 years is not enough. Let's keep going. I'm here because I let William manipulate me and I didn't have a backbone. Zachary later texted a relative using jail-issued electronic tablet. William pointed fingers back at Zachary during tell-all telephone discussions with that family member. Questioned about their taped confessions, William insisted there's a lot of stuff that went on that I don't know about, and that he had no idea what was going on when heavily armed officers were raiding their residence. A client of theirs had tipped off authorities, triggering the SWAT team's midnight search and rescue mission. So it wasn't a client of Zach's or a client of Williams, it was a client of theirs. They were a team. Zach J. Zulak. Jesus. My partner in crime for life. Partner in crime for life. Love is love. As for the less than a dozen pedos Zachary admittedly sent the homemade child videos to, DA McGinley had indicated in court that there are other potential suspects out there still under investigation. Those individuals are reportedly continuing to circulate videos that the Zulaks had allegedly produced of the abuse. Damn. Only one plea deal has been offered to date, Zachary claimed, but did not disclose specifics. Since the outset of the conspiracy case, Zachary has gone to extreme lengths to arrange a plea deal, such as secretly sending associates on the outside a quote-unquote love letter containing legal instructions and attempting to contact the DA out of desperation. Man. So there are certain things I can't say on the phone. This is Zachary's quote unquote love letter. Let's see if we can zoom this in. Oh no, it's not zooming. It's playing games. So there are certain things I cannot say on the phone. My God. So there are certain things I cannot say on the phone or email. First, maybe have blank loose into it. And of course, to the attending / public defender in regards to the civil forfeiture lien. Damn, this is crazy. I don't even wanna. Zachary also contacted friends on the outside by passing a handwritten letter to a fellow inmate in an attempt to circumvent the jail surveillance. Zachary's confidential note contained a series of instructions that reveals his legal strategy. He signed Love Zachary Zulak. He said, since I have been here, I have been assaulted twice. There's another inmate here whose family was going to meet the what? Sir, your handwriting is disgusting. Anyway. Jesus. Anyway, this is crazy. Yo, shout to Town Hall for this great investigative work, man. Let's continue.
34-year-old William and 36-year-old Zachary Zulak. They're a married couple out of Walton County, Georgia. Actually, the boys' parents. A family's home is supposed to be safe. It's supposed to be a place where the kids can trust their parents and feel at home, but instead, first responders call this a house of horrors. That's a direct quote. Take this as your trigger warning because right now we're going to dive into those details. The parents in this case are 34-year-old William and 36-year-old Zachary Zulak. They're a married couple out of Walton County, Georgia, which is just east of Atlanta. We're not revealing their sons' names to keep the boys' privacy, but we can tell you that right now they're ages 10 and 12, and they were adopted by the Zulaks through a Christian special needs agency. Outwardly, the Zulak family seemed to have it all. William worked for the government and Zachary had a job in banking. Their home was upscale too in a nice neighborhood of Loganville, Georgia. They posted pics online that were smiling, happy, basically looking like they were the picture-perfect family. They even have a photo wearing shirts that say, "Love my family," with the rainbow flag in support of pride. But behind this facade, there was something much more sinister. Now, the investigation dates back to July 2022, when the Georgia Bureau of Investigation's Exploitation and Computer Crimes Unit got a tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. According to this tip, child sex material was traced to an IP address in Walton County, Georgia. That's the same area where the Zulak family lived. But the person behind this address, it was actually a man named Hunter Lawless, who was caught downloading.
Yeah, let's get into that real quick, right? This is crazy. Town Hall really did some excellent investigative journalism about this. So let's read a bit more of what Town Hall has reported. And then I promise you guys I'll let it play, but this stuff is crazy. Alleged pedophiles in lovers quarrel could turn on each other by Mia Cathell, Town Hall. As the groundwork is being laid for the Georgia child prostitution, gang and pornography trial of Zachary and William Zulak, an LGBTQ activist couple. They're activists in the LGBTQ community. Don't let that get over your heads. Facing multiple life sentences for allegedly raping, filming, and pimping out their adopted 9 and 11-year-old sons to other gay men in a suburban pedophile ring. One of the co-defendants is considering a plea deal, Town Hall has learned. This was a local pedophile ring, so this was a ring local to the Atlanta, Georgia area. From behind bars, Zachary divulged in a secret handwritten letter to an old co-worker, quote unquote, and a former roommate that he is willing to arrange a plea deal for reduced prison time. As Tuesday's update on the stomach training Zulot case revealed, let's contact the DA directly, maybe, and try to set a deal, Zachary, who has pled not guilty, wrote in the confidential note. No love among thieves. After his numerous failed attempts to personally negotiate with the Walton County District Attorney, Zachary was advised to proceed cautiously, speak little, and take heed that any communications, written or spoken, can be used against you in a court of law. I was trying so hard to get the DA involved and hear my side and work with me. It's just so hard to do it from inside here. Zachary pleaded in messages to a relative whose whistleblowing has since sparked a firestorm in the courtroom. A gag order was proposed by the prosecution at a pair of back-to-back motion hearings on February 1st, where Judge Jeffrey Foster sternly warned the Zulot co-defendants to be much more guarded with third-party conversations in light of the circumstances, referring to their taped jail calls and text exchanges with the family member that have been leaked to Town Hall. The judge's warning hasn't stopped either of the Zulots from spilling their defense strategy to Town Hall's informant, who's the ringleader. In the days following the February 1st motion hearings and the judge's cautionary statement in court, Zach sent his family member a trove of jail ATM texts, pinning the blame on his husband and insinuating that William was the one in charge of the operation. I ain't never brought any men to our house. That does not mean nothing. So you couldn't have met these men and sold them stuff at the park, at the beach, at a restaurant. Cut the cap, bro. This is disgusting. It's nasty work. There is no honor among thieves, man. 100 years is not enough. Let's keep going. The cameras will prove that. Zachary repudiated when questioned about rumors floating in the family of the couple's open marriage. Surveillance cameras were installed in every square foot of the 4-bedroom, 5-bathroom Zulot mansion. Dang. Whew, must be nice. Located at the end of a secluded and forested cul-de-sac. Yeah, why did they need it to be secluded and forested off? And I mean, sometimes you just want space away. So I'm not gonna pretend like everybody who has a secluded away home. Some people just want their space, you know what I mean? But yeah, this is crazy. As part one detail of their investigation, William had a friend of his supposedly come and hang out Mondays since he didn't work Mondays. But I was under the impression that it was just as friends. Sure you were. Zachary countered in a text to the relative on February 4th, though nothing more, he stated. At the time, Zachary roomed with the friend he named in the handwritten letter. He was beckoning men over for hookups and offering acquaintances to partake in threesomes with him and an ex, whom Zachary endearingly nicknamed the Boss Man, according to Facebook Messenger chats. The three of them, Zachary, his ex, and the roommate mentioned in the letter, all bunked together before Zachary started dating William, his loyal, quote-unquote, partner in crime for life, in the summer of 2013. Today, Zachary follows gay pornography and gay video makers in Atlanta who fetishize I don't even want to know what this is, man. Puppy play with his Twitter account GA Bottom Guy and regularly pursues guys with iPhones and amateur website for any man to post pictures of themselves, clutching more than their mobile devices. Zachary often chatted with these video merchants on Facebook Messenger. Some of the accounts Zachary follows on Twitter, you can see right there. Of course, gotta have Joe Biden in there. Creepy Joe, they call him Creepy Joe. Grindr, a geolocation-based LGBT dating and hookup app, is where Zachary allegedly connected with at least one of the alleged members of the Atlanta area pedo ring, Hunter Lawless of neighboring Loganville, who had squealed when police executed a search warrant, who's the man in the video that's about to come up, on his mother's. Bro, why you in your mama basement with this nonsense, man? Getting your mama caught up, messing up your mama Wi-Fi. 100 years is not enough, gang. Y'all can see, yo, Ghetto, you doing too much. You mean? No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Before the Zulaks were apprehended, police alleged that Lawless had downloaded child videos of the older 11-year-old Zulak boy to his Google account, which triggered an emergency level cyber tip. Upon capture, Lawless told the police he was invited multiple times to participate in sexual acts with Zachary and his two sons. I say again, upon capture, Lawless told police he was invited multiple times to participate in sexual acts with Zachary and his two sons. Count 16 of the Zulak indictment naming Lawless. The family member pressed Zachary on the child videos, photos. The child photos he is accused of sending on Snapchat, where he allegedly bragged, "I'm going to F my son tonight. Stand by." 149 images collected at the Zulak mansion, 2 flash drives containing phone data, and a disk of a data dump are in the state's evidentiary arsenal. Authorities also allegedly found a folder on Zachary's cell phone titled Us that stored videos of William sexually what the fuck? This is family. What in the world, man? Sexually, touching on their older child who just turned 11 in December. Damn, bro. A preview of Zachary's private Snapchat with Lawless must have been on William's computer. IDK promise. Zachary responded, shrugging off the accusation. "There were not hundreds of photos on my phone. If the police report says that, then that's a flat out lie. It was probably thousands." Allegedly. Zachary explained, "I'm here because I let William manipulate me and I didn't have a backbone. And I am losing everything and everyone I love and care about. Please believe me, I really do need your love and support." Zachary exhorted his relative on February 5th. That's not a lie. Zachary claimed he was manipulated by William. Still partners in crime for life. "You probably feel like you just drank from a fire hose," Judge Foster told a gaunt William, who kept his bound hands clasped around his wrists throughout his 15-minute motion hearing. William, wearing a large frame glasses and a cropped haircut, was dressed in a button-down dark navy blue Walton County Jail jumpsuit that clung to his white thermal long johns underneath. Zachary still voiced some worry about William's physical well-being. He looked thinner than normal. He's picky about the food. This is crazy. This is really sick. I'm eating less, that's for sure. This is Zachary, February 4th text, worrying about William's physical well-being, whose weight has since fallen to a skeletal 120 pounds. My roommate does point out how little fluid I drink, which makes me miss Zach. Jesus, I don't even know what to make of that statement. Food here is awful, mostly, and it took them, still are, months not to bring food in with dairy in it, since I can't have my pills for that. William, who's lactose intolerant, has complained multiple times about the meals in detention, such as the low-grade quality of the deli meat in the jail's bologna sandwiches. But I'm doing okay, just trying not to lose my mind, William typed, disclosing that he writes bi-weekly love notes to Zach as they await trial. I don't want to hear that shit. To cope with the unfolding events, Zachary said he's been reading the Bible what part of the Bible are you reading? Huh? You can't be reading the parts that I'm reading. Let's see. You think he read 1 Timothy 1 and 10? The book of Timothy, chapter 1 and verse 10. The sexually immoral, men who practice homosexuality, enslavers, liars, perjurers, and whatever else is contrary to sound doctrine. The sexually immoral, men who practice homosexuality, enslavers, liars, perjurers, and whatever else is contrary to sound doctrine. You think he reading the first book of Timothy? Let's read it from verse 8. Now we know that the law is good if one uses it lawfully, understanding this, that the law is not laid down for the just, but for the lawless. That's a fitting statement in this scenario. And disobedient, for the ungodly and sinners, for the unholy and profane, for those who strike their fathers and mothers, for murderers, the sexually immoral, men who practice homosexuality, enslavers, liars, perjurers, and whatever else is contrary to sound doctrine, in accordance with the gospel of the glory of the blessed God with which I have been entrusted. You think he read first? You think he read 1 Timothy? You think he read 1 Timothy? I don't know. I can't say for sure. Can't say for sure that he bought from the jail's bookstore. I'm just asking you to please don't give up on me, please. I can't do this alone. You're right. Y'all had a whole ring of y'all doing it. And unfortunately, no one else will be there for me. Please don't leave me or forget me. I beg you, Zachary implored the family member, who is one of the last remaining blood relatives, to continue contact with him. I want to tell you everything, but I can't from here, Zachary claimed the previous day. Lawyerless, as Town Hall previously reported, Zulak defense attorney John E. Haldy moved to withdraw as Zachary's counsel in response to the Walton County District Attorney McGinley's motion to sever the Zulaks, who are jointly indicted as co-defendants, and disqualify Haldy from representing both clients. How do I decide between you two? Haldy had asked Zachary during his last in-person visit. Damn. William's side of the family, saddled with the accruing legal fees alone, has pumped $50,000 into Haldy's legal services. At the conclusion of the February 1st motion hearings, Foster approved Haldy's withdrawal papers, releasing the Georgia attorney from Zachary's criminal case. However, Haldy will stay on for the civil one, which decides if the state can forfeit the Zulak property. So they got civil states going too. Sounds real familiar. If they are severed and limited immunity is granted, the state can call upon Zachary and William to testify against each other at trial, which it seems like they have done, meaning the marital partners would not be excused from testifying on the basis of privilege against self-incrimination. In initial talks with the police, Zachary was quick to blame William for starting the child sex abuse, court records indicate. As February's text disclosures demonstrate, Zachary is painting William as the manipulator who masterminded the operation. You're a grown man, bro. Telling me some other grown man was able to tell you, hey, you know what I think would be a good idea? Stop it, Five. Stop it. William, so you were just innocent guy who just didn't want to do none of this, and you were just manipulated by your husband who you love so much.
Lie detector determined that was a lie.
William, remaining steadfast in his allegiance to Zachary, had faltered in the fall during October phone discussions with the family member, pointing the finger back at Zachary. William maintained that he had no idea what was going on when heavily armed cops descended on their mansion, sounding very familiar. There's a lot of stuff that went on that I don't know about, William told the relative. Look at this. Look at this. I will say there's some good dresses though. Those socks do go well with this outfit. I don't know what those socks say. No hate. No hate. I got you. Is it hate when you're doing stuff to children though? And we and your blood, we want to cut your heads off and put your blood on your, and the book of Leviticus says your head should be cut off and your blood is upon your, you think he's reading that part? Book of Leviticus, chapter 20, verse 13. If a man practices homosexuality, having sex with another man is with a woman, both men have committed a detestable act. You think he read that part? They must both be put to death, for they are guilty of a capital offense. You think he read the part about the bestiality, touching on animals? Like, what part is he reading? Is he just reading love is love and God is love over and over? I'm just trying to figure out where this man get his Bible information from. This is crazy. Foster asked Zachary what his future plans are for legal representation going forward. I'm trying to get another attorney that is not a public defender, mumbled Zachary, who has found a lawyer who's willing to take on his individual case, but he can't find anyone, friends or family, to cough up the money to finance his criminal defense. In the aftermath of the motion hearings, Zachary asked his old co-worker to pay the $2,500 startup cost to retain his prospective private counsel, Macklin A. Smith Sr. I wish I had access to my money to hire Macklin, but I don't, and I'm afraid a PD would not fight for me in the same way. How can I ask someone to spend money on an attorney who already did that? I guess. Zachary texted his relative, the affluent couple's assets are still in the state's possession on a probable cause seizure warrant until the civil case resolution. Because if they can prove $1 of any of the money you have came from y'all selling any of this stuff, selling your sons, selling content, all that money gets seized, all your property gets seized. It's all over because it's a wash. We can't tell what dollar came from where. So it's all gone. McGinley said that the Al-Kavi judicial, and you know what's funny? I don't mean to sound crazy, man, but where is they just want to take a white man down crowd? Yo, Ghetto, that's not right. Nah, man, I think it's right, and it's appropriate, and it's poignant, and it's a good point. Where's they just want to take a white man down crowd? Huh? When these things come out, where's they just never give a white man a fair trial? Huh? Where's that crowd at? Oh, these people ain't drop a good mixtape. I got you. You see, the Zulocks should have dropped a mixtape. That's what it is. Maybe if they'd had Chris Breezy on the track. You know what I'm saying? This is crazy. McGinley said that the Alcovy Judicial Circuit Public Defender's Office is already working with another defendant connected to the case, presumably Luis Vizcarro Sanchez, one of the two alleged pedophiles. The other being Lawless from a nearby suburb, whom the Zulock men allegedly solicited to engage in acts of prostitution with their 11-year-old adopted special needs son. You fucking monsters. You fucking monsters. Vizcarro Sanchez is being represented by a court-appointed attorney for the charges of felony sexual exploitation of children, enticing a child for indecent purposes, which is an unrelated child sex crime involving a 13-year-old boy that Vizcarro Sanchez allegedly groomed in pursuit of sexual activities, plus 31 shoplifting related offenses committed at a local Kroger, I like Kroger, store where he once worked. And the assignment was, see, they are thieves. Oh, they're not thieves, Ghetto. One of the people in his ring is clearly a thief. Man. The assignment was made after the defendant was declared indigent as part of part 2 of town. Jesus. See this guy? Man. Did unlawfully solicit Luis Vizcarro Sanchez to perform an act of prostitution with blank a person under the age of 18 years of age. Pandering for a person under 18. So this is pandering, like you trying to sell your child. Count 17 of the Zulock indictment naming Vizcarro Sanchez. So there would have to be a conflict attorney appointed. McGinley continued, a private attorney can be assigned by the court to handle the criminal case of an indigent defendant who cannot be represented by a public defender due to a conflict of interest. Foster then advised Zachary to confer with the public defender's office and assess the appointment. In the interim, if Zachary is able to retain an independent counsel, he may do so, and there still may be some difficulties just because of the position of the case, where we have co-defendants and we have potential Bruton issues and we have pending immunity grants. This is sick. A defendant's confrontation clause rights are violated under the Bruton rule when there is a joint trial of co-defendants and the testimonial statement of one co-defendant who does not testify at trial is admitted to implicate the other co-defendant. But the Bruton rule excludes only the statement of the non-testifying co-defendant that standing alone directly inculpates the defendant. As the Fulton DA's office in Atlanta explained, the Fulton DA office is on fire. Fire! They need to set it on fire. Cause man, the Fulton DA, that's like you are a damn man. Corruption starts at the top, don't it? Look what has come out about her. Look at what has come out about her, man. Look, corruption beginning at the top and just trickling on down. There is no Bruton violation when the statement on its face does not incriminate the defendant, but becomes incriminating only when linked with the other evidence introduced at trial. Meanwhile, William brainstormed in a February 8th text to the relative Zachary that Zachary should welcome a public defender and then argue that their excessive workload violates his 6th Amendment right to counsel without interference in quality representation. This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. This week, an inmate died of what was reportedly a drug overdose in the cell below Williams, he noted. Rumor is he OD'd on something, but I'm not sure, William wrote in a February 19 text message. Aside from being assaulted and threatened with sexual violence, Oh, you oh, you don't like that, huh? Oh, you don't like that, huh? Oh, this is the pot calling the kettle a Negro right here. Zachary claims he was drugged by a Barrow County Detention Center cellmate and sent to the jail's medical ward for stroke-like symptoms. Oh yeah, them inmates gonna give you some stroke-like symptoms, sir. I hope all them inmates give you some stroke-like symptoms. I hope you relive Debbie Does Dallas while you're in the detention center. I hope all of them give you stroke-like symptoms. We're gonna take a break, family. This is crazy.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
Child porn onto his computer. Lawless fessed up right away, though. He admitted to the crime, but now, the investigation dates back to July.
Fair use.
The Georgia Bureau of Investigation
100 years is not enough. Part 1.
Unit got a tip
Ghetto
from the
Reactz.
National
Let's
Center
go.
for Missing and Exploited Children. According to this, love my family with the rainbow flag in support of pride. But behind this facade, there was
shout to
much
Law and
more
Crime.
sinister. Now, the investigation dates back to July 2022, when the Georgia Bureau of Investigation's Exploitation and Computer Crimes Unit got a tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. According to this tip, child sex material was traced to an IP address in Walton County, Georgia. That's the same area where the Zulock family lived. But the person behind this address, it was actually a man named Hunter Lawless, who was caught downloading homemade child porn onto his computer. Lawless fessed up right away, though. He admitted to the crime, but he told investigators it wasn't him who created these images. Instead, he said the person behind this child porn sex ring was a man named Zachary Zulock, and he said Zachary had sent him these images and videos, and in the past offered his sons up to Hunter Lawless. Just a quick note here, Hunter Lawless pleaded guilty to a man named Hunter Lawless, who was caught downloading homemade child porn onto his computer. Lawless fessed up right away, though. He admitted to the crime, but he told investigators it wasn't him who created these images. Instead, he said the person behind this child porn sex ring was a man named Zachary Zulock, and he said Zachary had sent him these images and videos, and in the past offered his sons up to Hunter Lawless. Just a quick note here, Hunter Lawless pleaded guilty to sexual exploitation of children and was sentenced to 20 years in prison. His arrest also led to the arrest of Luis Vaccaro Sanchez, who was eventually charged and sentenced to 60 years in prison. Meanwhile, the investigation pointed
This is crazy, family. This is absolutely crazy. The book of Romans, chapter 1, verse 26, for this reason, God gave them up to their dishonorable passions. For their women exchanged natural relations for those that are contrary to nature, and the men likewise gave up natural relations with women and were consumed with passion for one another. Let me read that again, because you know, you get a little hyper sometimes. It's the passion. Forgive me. It's all that you can say. Years go by and still words don't come easily. Like forgive me, I'm sorry. The book of Romans chapter 1 verse 26. For this reason God gave them up to dishonorable passions, for their women exchanged natural relations, being with men, for those that are contrary to nature. And the men likewise gave up natural relations with women, and were consumed with passion for one another, men committing shameless acts with men, and receiving in themselves due to the penalty for their error. Receiving in themselves. Jesus, come on. Did he read this part? Did he read this part? Did he read any of this? When he says he's reading the Bible, what does he really mean he's doing with his time? Let's get back.
The Zulak family. Inside their home, investigators collected 7 terabytes of child sex material to the arrest of Luis Vicaro Sanchez, who was eventually charged and sentenced to 60 years in prison. Meanwhile, the investigation pointed back to the Zulak family. Inside their home, investigators collected 7 terabytes of child sex material. Let that number sink in. A terabyte holds 1,000 gigabytes. That's anywhere between 200,000 and 500,000 pictures. Or if it's video, it's
1,046 to be nerdy and technical, but she's 1,046 to 1,048 if we being real nerdy, but she got it.
500 hours. That means these dads had more than 3,000 exploitation of children and was sentenced to 20 years. Porn sex ring was a man named Zachary Zulak, and he said Zachary had sent him these images and videos, and in the past offered his sons up to Hunter Lawless. Just a quick note here, Hunter Lawless pleaded guilty to sexual exploitation of children and was sentenced to 20 years in prison. His arrest also led to the arrest of Luis Vicaro Sanchez, who was eventually charged and sentenced to 60 years in prison. Meanwhile, the investigation pointed back to the Zulak family. Inside their home, investigators collected 7 terabytes of child sex material. Let that number sink in. A terabyte holds 1,000 gigabytes. That's anywhere between 200,000 and 500,000 pictures. Or if it's video, it's 500 hours. That means these dads had more than 3,000 hours worth of child pornography recordings of their own.
That's nasty work. That is absolutely nasty work.
Inside their home, investigators collected 7 terabytes of child sex material. Let that
fair use.
A terabyte holds 1,000 gigabytes. That's anywhere between 200,000 and 500,000 pictures. Or if it's video, it's 500 hours. That means these dads had more than 3,000 hours worth of child pornography recordings of their own sons. And if you want to quantify that in photos, we're talking upwards of 3.5 million pictures of 2 young boys, now ages 10 and 12. Investigators later revealed that the dads set up security cams in their own home, like how we see nanny cams or ring cams inside of our home, but these cams weren't used for...
Or how allegedly Sean Combs, aka as people are affectionately calling him now, the diddler, had cameras all over his home. And allegedly how he had Jamie Foxx also walking around with that big video camera Jamie Foxx used to have back in the day. Allegedly. Let's go.
Security reasons. Instead, they were used to record the sexual abuse that was taking place all over the home. than 3,000 hours worth of child pornography recordings of their own sons. And if you want to quantify that in photos, we're talking upwards of 3.5 million pictures of two young boys now ages 10 and 12. Investigators later revealed that the dads set up security cams in their own home, like how we see nanny cams or ring cams inside of our home, but these cams weren't used for security reasons. Instead, they were used to record the sexual abuse that was taking place all over the home. Investigators say both parents repeatedly raped these boys and recorded it with video or photos. But that wasn't all. They also admitted to all of these crimes in texts and social media messages. Investigators say the men would brag to their friends, saying they planned to have sex with their sons, and then they would follow up after they carried out this really disturbing act. Both men eventually admitted to this, saying to investigators that they sodomized the boys and forced them to perform oral sex on both parents. Here's how the charges broke down. William Zulock was charged with 6 counts of aggravated sodomy, 3 counts of aggravated child molestation, 2 counts of sexual exploitation of children, and a couple other sexual offenses. Zachary Zulock was charged with 2 counts of aggravated sodomy, 3 counts of aggravated child molestation, 2 counts of sodomy, 3 counts of sexual exploitation of children, 2 counts of pandering for a person under 18, and other sexual offenses. Now, William pleaded guilty to all these charges back in August, and Zachary pleaded guilty to all but 1 charge. That didn't work out for him, though, because he took it to a bench trial and was found guilty there. Just this month, both men were sentenced to 100 down. William Zulock was charged with 6 counts of aggravated sodomy, social media messages, like how we see nanny cams or ring cams inside of our home, but these cams weren't used for security reasons. Instead, they were used to record the sexual abuse that was taking place all over the home. Investigators say both parents repeatedly raped these boys and recorded it with video or photos, but that wasn't all. They also admitted to all of these crimes in texts and social media messages. Investigators say the men would brag to their friends, saying they planned to have sex with their sons, and then they would follow up after they carried out this really disturbing act. Both men eventually admitted both parents repeatedly raped these boys and recorded it with video or photos. They were used to record the sexual abuse that was taking place all over the home. Investigators say both parents repeatedly raped these boys and recorded it with video or photos, but that wasn't all. They also admitted to all of these crimes in texts and social media messages. Investigators say the men would brag to their friends, saying they planned to have sex with their sons, and then they would follow up after they carried out this really disturbing act. Both men eventually admitted to this, saying to investigators that they sodomized the boys and forced them to perform oral sex on both parents. Here's how the charges friends, saying they planned to have sex with their sons, and then they would follow up after they carried out this really disturbing act. Both men eventually admitted to this, saying to investigators that they sodomized the boys and forced them to perform oral sex on both parents. Here's how the charges broke down. William Zulock was charged with 6 counts of aggravated sodomy, 3 counts of aggravated child molestation, 2
The book of Revelation, chapter 21 and verse 8. But as for the cowardly, the faithless, the detestable, as for murderers, the sexually immoral, sorcerers, idolaters, and all liars, their portion will be the lake that burns with fire and sulfur, which is the second death. Let's keep going.
counts of sexual exploitation of children and a couple others carried out this really disturbing act. Both men eventually admitted to this, saying to investigators that they sodomized the boys and forced them to perform oral sex on both parents. Here's how the charges broke down. William Zulock was charged with 6 counts of aggravated sodomy, 3 counts of aggravated child molestation, 2 counts of sexual exploitation of children, and a couple other sexual offenses. Zachary Zulock was charged with 2 counts of aggravated sodomy, 3 counts of aggravated child molestation, 2 counts of sodomy, 3 counts of sexual exploitation of children, 2 counts of pandering for a person under 18, and other sexual offenses. Now, William pleaded guilty to all these charges back in August, and Zachary pleaded guilty to all but one charge. That didn't work out for him, though, because he took it to a bench trial and was found guilty there. Just this month.
So there you go. He tried to act like he wasn't going to get caught up in the pandering or the soliciting of people to buy his child, and he did anyway.
Zulak was charged with 2 counts of aggravated sodomy.
The book of Revelation, chapter 2 and verse 2. Because you can't get away from this book, man. I know your works, your toil, and your patient endurance, and how you cannot bear with those who are evil, but have tested those who call themselves apostles or advocates or fighters for the LGBTQ community, and are not, and found them to be false. We're just people who love children and just want the best for them, and want to provide a safe home for these kids who never had anybody to care for them.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
Aggravated child molestation, 2 counts of sodomy, 3 counts of sexual exploitation of children, 2 counts of pandering for a person under 18, and other sexual offenses. Now, William pleaded guilty to all these charges back in August. A couple other sexual offenses. Zachary Zulak was charged with 2 counts of aggravated sodomy, 3 counts of aggravated child molestation, 2 counts of sodomy, 3 counts of sexual exploitation of children, 2 counts of pandering for a person under 18, and other sexual offenses. Now, William.
Yeah, I got verses for days for this one, guys. I got verses for days for this one. The book of Mark. I know some people not really into the New Testament like that, but chapter 9, verse 42. Whoever causes one of these little ones whom believe in me to sin, whoever makes children sin, it will be better for him if a great millstone, a huge rock, which is used for milling flour or wheat, were hung around his neck, and he were thrown into the sea. Whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him if a great millstone were hung around his neck and he were thrown into the sea. Because if I get my hands on him, if I get the paws on him,
pleaded guilty to all these
fair
charges
use.
back in August, and Zachary pleaded guilty to all but one charge. That didn't work out for him, though, because he took it to a bench trial and was found guilty there. Just this month, both men were sentenced to 100 years in prison without the possibility of parole, meaning they'll spend the rest of their lives behind bars. This case is truly one of the most disturbing I've covered in my. That didn't work out for him, though, because he took it to a bench trial and was found guilty there. Just this month, both men were sentenced to 100 years in prison without the possibility of parole, meaning they'll spend the rest of their lives behind bars.
WSB TV 2 Atlanta, Georgia couple who abused adopted sons, 2 adopted boys, and House of Horrors, quote unquote, sentenced to 100 years. A Walton County couple will spend the rest of their lives in prison after they were convicted for adopting 2 young boys and then sexually abusing them. Deputies arrested William and Zachary Zulak in 2022 at a home in unincorporated Loganville, and they were living in an unincorporated territory. Again, gang, was all of this so they could try to get away with this stuff and be outside of the law and have protections. Well, he's my spouse, he can't testify against me and I can't testify against him. And then living in an unincorporated zone, for those that don't understand, unincorporated zones are throughout America, and these zones are places where the American laws don't apply as much or as heavily. They are essentially their own jurisdictions. It's crazy, but it's true. There are plenty of places across this beautiful United States where you can go live in an unincorporated zone and have much less interaction with government, but you have much more autonomy, but you also have much more responsibility to take care of yourself. You might not have public water going out that way. You might not have public electricity going out that way. So, generators, and, you having to create places to put your waste. You may have to, you have to do a lot of things yourself, be more proactive in those manners. Last week, a judge sentenced them to 100 years in prison. Neither defendant is eligible for parole, according to the DA's office. These two defendants truly created a house of horrors and put their extremely dark desires above everything and everyone else. However, the depth of the defendant's depravity, which is as deep as it gets, is not greater than the resolve of those that fought for justice and strength. We got this quote already. As Channel 2 Action News previously reported, the Walton County Sheriff's Office raided a home after they learned a man named Hunter Lawless was downloading child videos. After interviewing him, Lawless said he'd been collecting those materials and identified another suspect living in Oxford. Lawless told deputies that suspect he'd mentioned was making the child videos with a child living at their home. Damn. My goodness. Living at their home. After interviewing, let me fix this for you. After interviewing him, Lawless said he'd been collecting those materials and identified another with the child living at their home, leading the sheriff's office to get a search warrant for the Zulak household. Following the investigation, Lawless pled guilty to sexual exploitation of children and agreed to cooperate in the prosecution of the Zulaks. When deputies got arrest warrants for the men living at the house in Oxford, they identified the Zulaks as suspects and worked with the Georgia Division of Family and Child Services, DFCS, to protect the children in the home. Investigators found at the time that both Zulaks, who were the adoptive parents of brothers living there, had been recording themselves committing abusive acts against both boys. Additionally, investigators found evidence that a man named Luis Vizcarro Sanchez had received messages from Zachary Zulak about abuse of one of the child victims. He later pled guilty to pandering for a person under 18 and multiple counts of computer theft. This is nasty work, y'all. This is nasty work. Can't make it smaller. Yeah, I could only make it bigger. Nobody want that. Want to watch that. August 20th, William Zulak entered a guilty plea for multiple charges, including aggravated sodomy, aggravated molestation, incest, and sexual exploitation of children. Damn. Zachary Zulak pled guilty to charges of aggravated sodomy, aggravated child molestation, sodomy, sexual exploitation of children, and pandering for a person under 18, but pled not guilty to 2 counts of incest. A judge later found him guilty of the incest charges following a brief bench trial, according to a release from the DA's office. So what? Now they're not my children biologically, so it's not that. That's crazy. This is when you got the money and the power and the influence, you can try to just sit here and muck up the court system for as long as you want. See, one of the attorneys was ill for 6 months, and then when he gets back, he wants to have an evaluation of the man and makes all these things to muck up and muddy the waters of the trial. All these things to try to dissuade people that they're a danger. Yeah, these guys are just nice and humble, and they just got caught up doing the wrong thing one time.
The lie detector determined That was a lie.
Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
Is truly one of the most disturbing I've covered in my career. I'm still
Fair
making
use.
sense of it all. Let's bring in trial attorney Krista Ramey to help us out too. Krista, have you ever seen a case like this before?
You know, it's like, no. Well, first of all, no. And it's almost as if these men adopted these children for this explicit purpose, to exploit these.
It's allegedly that's exactly what happened. Not only did they adopt them for that purpose, it's starting to look like they may have gotten married. You know what? I'm gonna leave it alone, so they could get away with this.
Just as if these
got the home in a remote location and all that. Like,
for this explicit purpose,
this is crazy.
To exploit these children, and so it's just, it turns my stomach. It's terribly disturbing.
The details of the case are very disturbing, upsetting, as you said, but let's start way at the beginning, the adoption. What you said, I think, kind of sounds true, the fact that they adopted these kids with the intent to abuse them. But it does get me thinking, we have a huge need for adoption in our country. How can we make sure that these adoptive parents aren't going to, I know this is an extreme, obviously, but make sure that they're going to treat the kids right?
I was arguing the same thing. We do need parents and stuff, but we also need to make sure we vetting people properly. And we can't get to the point where we need so many people housed that we just start letting people who we know might not be the most ideal having children alone like this. It can only lead to it can only lead down a bad road. It can't, very little positive can come out of these type of scenarios. It's just facts. Let's keep going.
Every state, including Georgia, there are so many safeguards that are put into place before a parent can legally adopt a child. There are home visits, there are background checks, there are references required, there's drug screening. The children have to be at least 10 years younger than the adoptive parents in Georgia. Specifically, they have all of these systems in place to help screen out this, but you can't screen.
But if I'm looking for children, you putting in a provision that the children have to be at least 10 years younger than me, that would be up my alley. That would be what I'm looking for. So I'm not sure if that's a good screening or protocol measure. I'm not sure in all cases, in all scenarios, if just making sure that there's at least a 10-year age gap between them is always going to create the ideal home environment.
Out for everything.
Right.
In every state, including Georgia, there are so many safeguards that are put into place before a parent can legally adopt a child. There are home visits, there are background checks, there are references required, there's drug screening. The children have to be at least 10 years younger than the adoptive parents in Georgia. Specifically, they have all of these systems in place to help screen out this, but you can't screen out for everything. And so I think that here, these things just got missed, but it's troubling to me that they got missed because this couple clearly has some sort of fetish and that was discussed among their friend circles, apparently, of being attracted to young boys. And so I think that there should have been some red flags in the background check that got missed in this case that should have probably been caught.
You mentioned the discussions with their friends, and that was something that just turned my stomach completely. There was at least one message with their friends, and one of the dads said something like, "I'm going to have sex with my son, stand by." That right there, black and white, you're admitting to what's going on. You said, son, that's incest. He's obviously under 18 years old.
How long had they been doing this, and how comfortable were they doing this? How insulated did they think they were from public scrutiny or from the law if they would just openly talk about it like that. Again, does be operating in these unincorporated zones, does them being so comfortable and loose and free, having that house away in the remote area, them being married, does all of this self lend itself to a long, huge pattern that for some reason, the Department of Family and Children's Services or whatever body is handling the adoptions out there just chose to ignore? Because, you know, we got to have positivity. We got to have these progressive parents. At what cost? At what cost? Oh, you everybody can't just be all old school with it like you, Ghetto. You know, that's old school stuff. Well, look at what this modern stuff is doing. The old school existed for a long time for a reason, because those traditional values helped build up a great society. Some of our best inventions, our greatest innovations, our brightest minds, and the best times for the country as a whole all occurred because of those old school values. But let's keep going.
So that's basically a confession written right there. Why
Fair use, fair use. 100 years is not
friends
enough.
and
Part
investigators
one.
use it against them?
Because they truly have a diagnosable mental illness. They have pedophilia, they have a sexual disorder of some other sort as well. And I don't believe that they think that they will get caught. It doesn't make sense to me that people would engage in this kind of conduct without knowing that there are the children, the Center for Missing Children and Exploited, I'm saying this wrong, the Centers for Missing and Exploited Children do wonderful work in trying to find all of this material that's online. Because a lot of times what they're doing and what happened here is that they're not only having sex with their children, they're posting it online. And I read a story prepping for this interview that just recently, this month, 49 accounts were taken down on OnlyFans that were suspected of having what's called CSAM material, which is childhood sex abuse material. And it is just stunning to me that that can even exist online, and that it's not getting only having sex with their children. They're posting it online. And I read a story prepping for this interview that just recently, this month, 49 accounts were taken down on OnlyFans that were suspected of having what's called CSAM material, which is childhood sex abuse material. And it is just stunning to me that that can even exist online, and that it's not getting, how does that company allow that to exist for that period of time online? It just blows my mind.
Absolutely agreed. Thinking about the details of this case going through it, I don't even like having to think about it, but the fact that some kids deal with this, some parents deal with it, it's just discussing the fact that we have to talk about it. But you brought up something really good. You brought up
and that it's not getting, how does that company allow that to exist for that period of time online? It just blows my mind. Is that they're not only having sex with their children, they're posting it online. And I read a story prepping for this interview that just recently, this month, 49 accounts were taken down on OnlyFans that were suspected of having what's called CSAM material, which is childhood sex abuse material. And it is just stunning to me that that can even exist online, and that it's not getting, how does that company allow that to exist for that period of time online? It just blows my mind.
Absolutely agreed. Thinking about the details of this case going through it, I don't even like having to think about it, but the fact that some kids deal with this, some parents deal with it, it's just disgusting, the fact that we have to talk about it. But you brought up something really good. You brought up OnlyFans. This is something we saw in this case. I believe the investigators said there were 7 terabytes worth of child sex material. Now, a terabyte is huge. That's a lot of files and details. That is an overwhelming amount of evidence, wouldn't you say?
Yes, very much so, and hence the guilty plea, I believe, and thank God for that. But it, from what I understand, that they had cameras all over their house. They were, abusing them in ways that are just horrific to even imagine, and the torture that these kids went through. And we do unfortunately, hear a lot about torture and abuse of children, but this one seems particularly disturbing to me. The amount of, your home's supposed to be safe, and the fact that they put these children through this and the damage that it has undoubtedly caused. I think that they were like 10 and 12 years old. They're young.
Hey, all you business owners or anyone thinking of a side hustle, I do.com/independence. But also just throughout, we talked about the message admitting I'm going to have sex with my son. But then, as you pointed out, there are cameras inside of their home, not just, explicitly for this, but also just throughout their home, just really tough stuff to have to grapple with. The fact that they have all of this, you mentioned the guilty plea. Would that have been a wildly strong case for prosecutors against these 2 defendants?
Yes, absolutely. And, I think that the reason why you did not see the prosecutors move forward with a trial on this is because they didn't want to put the victims through a trial. And so when you have this amount of overwhelming evidence and you've got victims that are this young, the best way to go is, if possible, to get a plea. And normally, with a plea comes some sort of lesser sentence. And in this case, you did not see that. You saw literally the book thrown at these guys. So there was no deal with respect to a plea of guilty and then we'll, for a lesser charge, and we'll, reduce the time just to get this done. It's no, you can plea, but there's going to be no consideration for the fact that you pled. And the judge will give you whatever sentence that, he deems or she deems is fit. And that sentence we are going to urge be the maximum.
Which is what we saw in this case. We'll talk about that in a second. I wanted to talk a bit more about the investigation, though, in that the way that these 2 men were caught is that someone else was looking at this child sex pornography material. Their IP address was tracked. And then basically he said, oh, I got it from this person, led to this child sex ring, kind of opening the floodgates, so to speak, into all of this. Is that how a lot of perpetrators in these cases are caught, from one person to the next, kind of listing the names?
Yeah, exactly. Well, where someone gets caught and then they go through and, find out where they received information from. And then it leads them back to here, this couple in Georgia. So I believe that also this was part of an investigation that was done by the Center for Missing and Abused Children. And that was part of that discovery that they had as well. So I think there was multiple sources that led them back to this point, which I think is, fantastic in terms of the work that organizations are doing in cooperation with law enforcement to help make sure that they find and track down everybody. Like I said, this month alone, 49 OnlyFans websites taken down. I'm sure that there'll be criminal charges related to every single one of those. And I don't know if this one was included within that or not, but, you're seeing, a big sting happening with websites such as this. And you can almost tell, and this is going to be very disturbing, how they are marketed out there. So you'll hear they'll be advertised with words like innocent and, inexperienced, but also with lollipops specifically. And these children are called lollipops. And so they are advertised as selling lollipops in some cases. It's these tricks included within that or not, but
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. Lollipops. Family, we got to do a better job of protecting our children. We got to do a better job of protecting our children. We have to do a better job of protecting children, period, guys. All that team F them kids stuff, y'all got to slow all that down, because that type of mindset and that type of environment and that type of willingness to just ignore what happens leads to this. It's a slippery slope, y'all. Let's keep going. Fair use.
You're seeing, a big sting happening with websites such as this. And you can almost tell, and this is going to be very disturbing, how they are marketed out there. So you'll hear they'll be advertised with words like innocent and inexperienced, but also with lollipops specifically. And these children are called lollipops, and so they are advertised as selling lollipops. In some cases, it's these triggers that people now know are associated directly with CSAM material, and it's just incredible in terms of the magnitude that that's out there of material.
It kind of gets me thinking, with you talking about that, how they're marketing this so they're not saying explicitly illegal material, but the lollipop thing that you mentioned, which is just shocking. But it does get me thinking too, the sheer amount of instances that this is occurring. I mean, is it more?
And these children are called lollipops, and so they are advertised as selling lollipops. In some cases, it's these triggers that people now know are associated directly with CSAM material, and it's just incredible in terms of the magnitude that that's out there of material.
It kind of gets me thinking, with you talking about that, how they're marketing this so they're not saying explicitly illegal material, but the lollipop thing that you mentioned, which is just shocking. But it does get me thinking too, the sheer amount of instances that this is occurring. I mean, is it more than we can even fathom across the country, the world?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it is. I know lawyers that specifically practice in this area of law, and
but the lollipop thing that you mentioned, which is just shocking. But it does get me thinking too, the sheer amount of instances that this is occurring. I mean, is it more than we can even fathom across the country, the world?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it is. I know lawyers that specifically practice in this area of law, and there's not enough of them, but they want to make sure that they are a small group because they're very, very specialized in this area. But it is way more than you can imagine. When I go to conferences and sit in on lectures related to this, I am always blown away by the numbers.
Fair use.
I wouldn't be able to hear something that would surprise me, and then yet again it happens. So it's not getting better as technology is getting more advanced. It's getting worse. Now with AI, they're taking images of children that were not taken, exploiting them, but then using AI to put the face of that child in sexually explicit ways and on a body of another person. And that is now exploiting that child in different ways, even though the child isn't themselves.
Digital exploitation, man. AI generated exploitation, man. AR and VR exploitation, augmented reality exploitation. You put on your headset and they can make whatever come into your room. Virtual reality. You put on your headset and you go into this new space, meta based rooms where it would just be like this. I mean, we saw that Roblox situation a few months back. For those that don't know, Roblox got caught up in the same thing, a huge scandal where they literally said, in fact, let me pull that up real quick. Bloomberg.com. This is crazy. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Right? Blah, blah, blah. Shut up. Bloomberg.com. Shout to Bloomberg. Now, the reason this story initially popped was because there was an investment firm that marked them as a low investment. It was like, it's not a buy. You should sell if you have it. And the reasons they cited was because all of the child in danger, the environment for child endangerment was at a fever pitch on Roblox. Like, there's rooms up there, there's hundreds of Diddy rooms and rooms with adults doing all type of things with their avatars, with children's avatars. It's really a creepy and dark place on Roblox. So if you have your children playing Roblox, please, please, please be careful. And we can get into this deeper in another episode, but please, please, please be careful. Just lightly touch on it here. The internet's biggest recreation zone for kids is fighting to keep predators away, and it's not always winning. This is an article from July 22nd, 2024. Dr. Fatnik. Let me blow this up for y'all. Dr. Fatnik, also known as to fans as Doc, looked almost mayoral in a tall white hat, a red tie, and an American flag pin. A smirk was permanently plastered on his face as he roamed his domain in Roblox, the multi-billion-dollar gaming platform geared toward children. His name referred to the villain of Sega's Sonic the Hedgehog, but thousands of players during the first summer of COVID-19, first summer of COVID-19, he was a hero. Dr. Robotnik. Oh, Dr. Robotnik. As opposed to Dr. Robotnik, Dr. Robotnik. I got it. Dr. Robotnik. Roblox avatar. Gotcha. Doc was the architect of the game Sonic Eclipse Online. Anyone can make a game inside Roblox digital sandbox, which is dope. It gives game designers a place to test out their games, and it's almost like having a digital resume for companies to see coders and designers and how people can interact. What's the GUI like, the graphical user interface, and what is the user experience? What's the end user experience like when people play games that you've coded? Are they buggy? Do they have a lot of issues that need to be addressed? And how responsive are you in your updating of the code, and you're addressing the end user issues that are happening as people are playing and interacting in your Roblox game? So, I mean, this is amazing for coders, but there are coders and there are designers and people who are just amateur designers who are using this for far more nefarious things. And his bootleg version of Sega's hit franchise was a runaway success. It offered gamers a place where they could sprint across virtual half pipes as the eponymous blue hedgehog alongside their friends for free. By September 2020, some 36 million people, more than half of them under 13, were on Roblox daily, making it the world's biggest recreation zone for kids. Sonic Eclipse was a bustling cul-de-sac where children could buy virtual Robux currency with their weekly allowance, then use it to get costumes and morph into cooler characters. Doc claimed to be one of the highest paid developers on Roblox, boasting about it to his community on the chat app Discord. There are thousands of fans who'd filtered over from the Sonic Eclipse, got to know him as Jaden Shedlitsky, 28, a game developer, industry visionary, and a bit braggadocious. As he wrote in his bio, he was the California-based younger brother of a Roblox legend, John Shedlitsky, the platform's longtime creative director, or so he said. No one knew what Doc really looked like, but he told anyone who asked that he was buff with blonde hair and teal blue eyes. He said he drove around in flashy cars with a hot Spanish girlfriend, quote unquote. Doc's dark, edgy humor only made it more compelling to many kids. When he posted a joke about rape, one fan replied 10-10. When he called young girls who helped him develop Sonic Eclipse sex slaves, it became a running gag. He quipped about being the old man with kids in his basement. Fans sparred with one another to get on his good side and on his payroll. See, when you got money, man, when you have money, when you have this fame, when you have this notoriety, people start to blind themselves to what you're doing. And anybody who doesn't have your affluence or your money, who tries to talk about what you're doing and it's problematic and how it could be problematic, those people become evil. Oh, you're a hater. You're a hater. You just don't like them. You just want to see a black man fall. You just want to take my fun away. You just don't understand. You don't get it. Understand. Some were also quick to defend his honor in September 2020 when a Sonic Eclipse player posted screenshots on Twitter of a private chat Doc had with a preteen. You're 12. I expect you to be a little slow on the upbringing, but soon I'll corrupt you to beyond your wildest dreams. This is a private chat he's having with a preteen. Words cannot explain what I want to do with you. You're the reason why I'm going to end up behind bars. So first he's telling these jokes, and now these are allegedly the conversations that he's having with a minor. The person who posted the screenshots was one of a group of gamers who'd grown tired of the homophobic, racist, and predatory tirades Doc shared on his Discord and had started digging into the person behind them. When Roblox Corp learned of the messages, it shut down Doc's account. But by then, he transferred ownership of Sonic Eclipse to another gamer, a friend who kept it running in his stead. Doc claimed the controversy tripled his earnings. The bragging and the efforts to expose him continued until the spring of 2022. That's when Doc disappeared from the internet with all the money he had already made. Gamers speculated that he'd killed himself. Then a few months later, a player sent an alert on Discord. Doc finally got arrested. Posted below was an article from a New Jersey site with the headline, FBI groomed for sex. Indiana girl 15 rescued after Patterson man pays Uber to bring her to New Jersey. Damn. Roblox was launched in the early 2000s under the premise that gamers were the next frontier for education software. And that is true. Kids could design multiplayer online enclaves using a set of building blocks and a simple coding language. Unlike other companies' complex graphic intense games, Roblox were the kind of thing kids might imagine during recess, like experience gravity or work at a pizza place. The platform's weird, whimsical ethos attracted thousands, then millions of kids who moved through its worlds as Lego-like avatars with frozen smiles and beady eyes, spending Robux to spruce themselves up with virtual wigs, clothes, dragon tails, or wings. Eager to access young eyeballs, big brands crafted their own games, such as Gucci Town and Nike Land. Developers received a 30% cut of any sales. Damn! And Roblox took the rest. Bookings last year, mostly from Robux, reached $3.5 billion with a B, y'all. Put a little tune in the background as we go through this. With 78 million daily active users, Roblox has become social media for the youngest generation. Every second, according to Roblox, it processes more than 50,000 chat messages. Hey loser, cute outfit, let's be friends, through its moderation protocols, a combination of artificial intelligence technology and human workers that the company says scan all user content, including audio and text. And yet all that madness is still going on. Roblox has about 3,000 moderators, significantly fewer than TikTok. which has 3 times the number of daily users but employs 40,000 moderators. Roblox says the number of moderators isn't an indicator of quality. It's debatable, Roblox. Unlike other mass market social media apps which bar kids under 13 or shunt them into sanitized versions, Roblox was made for children. So why is all these adults allowed to be on it? Why are all these adults on there then if this is supposed to be for kids? I can't figure that out. More than 40% of its users are preteens, and with that market comes special hazards. Why is it not 80% of your users are preteens? Why is there so many older people there? Since 2018, police in the U.S. have arrested at least 24 people accused of abducting or abusing victims they met or groomed using Roblox, according to data compiled by Bloomberg Business Week. Some were already on sex offender registries. How the freak you even get to be how do you get to be on this site? Some were already on sex offender registries or had been accused of abusing minors there. There were also a sheriff's deputy, a 3rd grade teacher, and a nurse. In just the past 13 months, there had been 7 arrests, including those of a man in Florida accused of trying to kidnap a teen he played with on Roblox, a man charged with abducting an 11-year-old New Jersey girl he met on the platform, and a California man who allegedly abused a kid he too had met on Roblox. Now, I know some people think, with the technology that it's getting safer and safer. But actually, look at this, guys. These predators weren't just lurking outside the world's biggest virtual playground. They were hanging from the jungle gym. Now, I get that the percentage-wise of children that get to probably have fun on there with no one bothering them is probably high. I do get that. But I'm trying to figure out why are so many predators allowed to be on this app around these children in the first place. Especially if they already have records. That would seem to, in my opinion, be an automatic reason to ban somebody from an app. These predators weren't just lurking outside the world's biggest virtual playground. They were hanging from the jungle gym using Robux to lure kids into sending photographs. Using Robux to lure kids into sending photographs or just developing relationships with them that move to other online platforms and eventually offline. Roblox Chief Safety Officer Matt Kaufman calls safety and civility foundational to the company. He notes that the platform's moderation systems scan all chat and other digital content, bleeping out inappropriate words and blocking players from sending images. Those systems, which can intervene in under a minute, are even more restrictive for kids under 13, Kaufman says. He rejects the idea that Roblox has a systemic problem with child endangerment and describes this issue as industry-wide. So the whole industry has an issue with child endangerment, but people think that it's safer online. This is the chief of safety. He says the whole industry has a child endangerment issue. Tens of millions of people of all ages have a safe and positive experience on Roblox every single day. I do believe that. He says he declined to comment on specific criminal cases. Yet a number of people who've worked for Kaufman say Roblox is on its back foot in its battle against predators. In an interview with more than 20 current and former employees, including moderators, engineers, and safety managers, all of whom requested anonymity because of confidentiality agreements or fear of retribution from the company, Business Week repeatedly heard that while child safety might be the company's watchword, policing the platform and its 13 million games is a Sisyphean task, meaning like it's impossible. We can't. It's just too much going on. One moderator says her team receives hundreds of escalated reports involving child safety every day. One moderator says her team receives hundreds of escalated reports involving child safety every day. Far too many for her team to clear. She can't investigate and determine the validity of all these cases at one time. And if they willing to tell us it's hundreds, it's probably thousands or even tens of thousands. And I get that's a fraction compared to the millions of people that probably interact on the app on a daily or monthly basis. But that's still, wait, how many children are we willing to sacrifice? Policing will only get harder as the company strives to reach co-founder and chief executive officer David Baczynski's goal of 1 billion daily users. You have 1 billion kids on it? No, you have a bunch of adults on it. More than 10 times the number today. 8 current and former trust and safety workers say user growth at Roblox takes priority over child safety. They describe calls for more resources going unanswered, resulting in a backlog of incident reports and the departure of one manager who left after promises for extra staff went unfulfilled. Others say that features they recommend to better protect kids, such as pop-up safety notices, were rejected, and that safety settings, for example, to ensure users aren't talking to strangers, were switched off by default. And while the company says it's increasingly relying on AI for moderation, and those systems are improving all the time, some employees say that the technology isn't yet able to detect the subtle signs of grooming. Damn. A Roblox spokesperson disputes the claims about resources and backlogs. The spokesperson says that safety team members are constantly sharing ideas about new tools that the company factors in various considerations when deciding how to build them, and that it has a robust pipeline of safety features in development, implying that a lack of immediate integration of specific ideas, tools, or features is a reflection of not caring or lack of prioritization. Implying that a lack of immediate integration of specific ideas, tools, or features is a reflection of not caring or a lack of prioritization is simply wrong. The spokesperson said the long-time growth and longevity of Roblox depends on our ability to provide safe and civil experience for our users. Most of the safety workers interviewed by Businessweek say it's harder to pursue pedophiles at Roblox than any other online platforms. Dang, because every user is an anonymous collection of pixels. That's the thing about catering to children. You can't ask for real names, email addresses, or phone numbers that sign up. This protects the privacy of children, but also of predators. Hey. Yeah, so you can't get no names, no email. There's no keep your contact. There's no know your users. Jesus. Before Doc was wanted by the FBI, he was being hunted by a posse of vigilante gamers. They'd grown up playing Roblox, venting with one another about its poor moderation. They'd ridiculed it for having overly strict chat filters, which they said sometimes censored innocuous words, yet didn't catch acronyms such as ERP for erotic role play, and for failing to detect avatars with absurdly large genitalia, or simulating sex in digital toilet stalls. By 2020, many had lost faith that Roblox could prevent predatory behavior, so they began policing it themselves. Leader of this pack was Ben Simon, now 27, who broadcast about Roblox on YouTube under the pseudonym Ruben Sim from a bungalow in suburban Tucson. Roblox spends so much time, effort, and money convincing parents that their platform is safer than it actually is, he says, sitting in a gaming room smelling of cannabis and plastered with WikiLeaks and rock music posters. Simon is a controversial figure. He has mocked Roblox employees for their physical appearance and sexual preferences, and has hurled insults at Baczynski, who blocked him on X. Roblox permanently banned Simon when he was 17. Since then, he started new accounts, expanding his YouTube subscriber base to 1.2 million, even as Roblox has shut him down on his platform at least 100 times. His first videos were cringy satires of its games. Now they have titles such as Uncovering Roblox's Nastiest Community and Roblox Worst Moderation Problem. And he makes money from the ads. That's crazy. That is crazy. Insane, y'all. This is insane. Some Roblox employees say they respect Simon's efforts. Others write him off as a drama channel, a bad faith actor who cares more about clicks than kids. But he says users desperate for accountability have sent him thousands of complaints, figuring they'll have a better luck getting a creepy account shut down if he posts about it than if they file a report with Roblox. That's crazy, man. But that just shows you the power and influence of social media and why people have to speak up and have to step up and have to do what they know is right, even in the face of these huge mega corporations. When it seems like you can't get through, you got to figure out ways to make your blowhorn bigger. In September 2020, Simon started receiving messages from the gamers who were seeking to bring Doc down. The screenshots they sent were of conversations Doc had had with young girls who worked for him, including ones detailing fantasies about kidnapping and raping a 12-year-old. After Simon reposted the messages to Twitter, vigilantes flooded Doc's accounts, calling him a pedo. Doc responded with a YouTube video defending himself in his usual style off screen with his voice electronically altered. He admitted the messages were real but said they were just jokes. Simon packaged the allegations and admission into a 7-minute video and sent it to an employee on Roblox's developer relations team. He asked the company to shutter the Dr. Rofotnik account and Sonic Eclipse itself. A number of other users say they also alerted Roblox about Doc's account, and so did the mother of the preteen he sent the messages to. So this person's own parents is telling you, yo, I don't appreciate what's going on here. And what happened? Damn, Roblox. Katie Berner, who's now 18, says her mother sought advice from Simon before sending a report explaining how creepy and dangerous it all was. Berner had started playing Roblox when she was 6 and was working for Doc by the time she was 13. At first, she liked that he gave her so much attention. But as she got older, Berner says she realized just how gross it was for an adult to be talking to me like this. Crazy. 4 days after being notified by Simon, Roblox closed Doc's account and reported it to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. In the meantime, Doc had transferred ownership of the game to his friend and created a new account. One gamer recalls him quoting Eminem after his return, "Guess who's back? Back again. Shady's back." Tell a friend. Doc shared a screenshot on Twitter that October after his ban, showing a $15,097.35 payment from Roblox, and scoffed at Simon. "Thanks for driving more money to my game, man. Jeez, you guys are effing stupid by giving me all this publicity." Damn. Roblox says it continued to search for and ban any alternate accounts, but left Sonic Eclipse running because the game itself didn't pose any safety concerns. You mean the game itself was making entirely too much money for Roblox, and they didn't want to have to take it down. It also says that Dr. Rofotnik cashed out a total of $41,000 in developer fees in the first 8 months of 2020, but that it has no record of a payment to anyone for $15,097.35 that year. Of course, they don't have any record of it. That doesn't mean they didn't do it. This is crazy. Simon sent a message to Roblox railing against what he viewed as its weak response. Roblox's bottom line depends on parents trusting the company with their kids' safety, and that's not going to happen if this is the response to child predators, he wrote. He says he didn't get a reply. He tried reporting Doc to the Tucson police, but all he could offer was an online alias. Crazy. We'll leave it there for now, gang. We'll definitely get more into this and more into some other stuff as we continue on with this. But let's get back into today's Feast Day Resistance, shall we? We gotta protect our kids, gang. Got to.
The sexual act, but their image is, and then it's being sold on the internet. So it's, as technology gets more and more advanced, these criminals are getting more and more advanced in how they are finding ways to, make their money, exploiting children in this way.
That use of AI is really disturbing. I had never even thought of that. That's just a whole other realm of situation we've got going. But back to the two defendants here, we talked about their sentencing, 100 years, life without parole. I mean, the details we've discussed are pretty devastating and disgusting. I think it's justified. What do you think? Is that a reasonable sentence?
Yes, I think in some cases that what these men did to these children is worse.
100 years is not enough. Let's keep going.
Worse than killing someone. It is, I think, the worst act that people can commit is an act of this sort of abuse on a child so young. So I have no problem at all with the sentence. I think the sentence is just.
In talking about this case, we have to remember about these two young boys, now 10 and 12. I mean, they're not even in middle school yet, really young kids. Investigators have said that the kids rebounded. That's something specifically they said. They've risen above this, so to speak, but obviously it's going to be with them. This is kind of your area of expertise. What's next for these kids?
These kids are most likely getting very intense therapy. Therapy is, really the number one thing that they need to be having, because a lot of times what happens is when kids are abused this young, they block it out, particularly if it wasn't discovered. So you see this with like the priest abuse cases where there's not a revelation of the abuse until, 20, 30 years later. And you can see manifestations of the abuse in these now adults' personal lives, whether it's problems in their marriage, their own sexual deviances and that sort of thing. So knowing that this happened to them so young and having that knowledge now, it's going to be better for them in terms of treatment and outcome, I think, because like any illness, you need to make sure you're treating young. And these boys undoubtedly have, generalized anxiety disorder, probably depressive disorder, and most likely post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of all of this. And so those things have to be treated. They will be given, coping mechanisms of how to work through it, but it's going to be with them for the rest of their lives, for sure.
Really sad to think about, but really thankful for the outcome that we have, that they're in a safe situation as of now. Krista Ramey, a pleasure as always to talk to you, even though it was about something pretty dark today.
Yeah, thank you. And again, let's talk about something happy next time, maybe.
Yes, let's work on it. After the sentences were handed down in this case, we got a statement from the district attorney. He wrote, "It cannot be stressed enough how important it is for our society to have individuals willing to adopt children in need. But anyone who does so and then abuses those children deserves extremely harsh consequences and decades in prison." The sentence imposed not only appropriately punishes these defendants for their repeated selfish actions, but also sends a message to the public that such actions will never be taken lightly. These two defendants truly created a house of horrors and put their extremely dark desires above everything and everyone else. However, the depth of the defendants' depravity, which is as deep as it gets, is not greater than the resolve of those who fought for justice and the strength of the victims in this case. The resolve I have seen from these two young victims over the last 2 years is truly inspiring. Reporting for Law and Crime, I'm Sierra Gillespie.
And reporting for Ghetto Reactz, it's your boy, his Ghetto Point of View. Gang. Whew. My God. Are we just starting with this, family? 100 years is not enough for one. I've been waiting for a catalyst to start having this conversation. I'm sorry I didn't initially talk about the roadblocks, but it's so interesting that they brought it up here. It kind of allowed me to piece all that in. What's your thoughts, family? Let me know them down in the comments below. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Family, we have to do more to protect our children. If you're a busy parent and you let your kids just be on Roblox all day unattended, you let them be on any social media apps all day unattended, you gotta understand what that could possibly incur. If you are a parent who's going through a lot and you're considering putting your children up for adoption or into the system, really ponder heavily the pros and cons of that decision, and really pray and ask yourself, am I doing the best thing? Can I figure this out? If I really put my nose to the grindstone, can I just make a better environment for my child here at home? Most of the time, you'll find out the answer is yes, and you'll surprise yourself if you really take the initiative and the gumption, the stick-to-itiveness to see it out. Will it be hard as hell? 1,000%. But will you regret taking the time to do that for you and your child?
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
Definitely not. Definitely not. It's your boy Ghetto Gang. Forgive the madness of the technology around me, but we gotta understand, guys, that this is sadly the world that we are faced with at the moment, as things have gotten more progressive and politics has taken over a lot of the decision making for institutions such as the Department of Family and Children Services, DFCS or DCFS, ACS, CPS, as politics has taken over the decision making of many of those institutions and organizations. Unfortunately, the amount of these type of cases that we will see in the future is only going to grow if we don't all get up, get active, and do something about it. And I know we can. I'm confident in us. I'm confident in the God we serve. Thankful to the Most High for all the blessings and all the lessons. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Thankful to the Most High. Thankful to the Most High for all the blessings that he puts in you and your family life, and completely humbled beyond words, beyond the way words can describe, for all of the blessings that he continues to pour on me and my family. It's your boy Ghetto Gang. We're gonna get up out of here. Salute to y'all. Hit me. Y'all know the email. Hit the IG. Fresh dropping all the time. Tap in with me. I know the email. It's the same as the name at gmail.com. Support the movement. Support the movement, family. $ his ghetto point of view. $ his ghetto point of view. $ his ghetto point of view. We will talk soon, fam. This has been an interesting one and will be one of many going forward. Peace and blessings.